Hello, and welcome back to Baking with Jen. I'm Jen, and today we're doing some baking. I would like to apologize for the delay today. There have been numerous technical difficulties. So, today we're making a low-carb version of pretzels that we made back on Tuesday. And this is a high-fat, low-carb recipe that we're trying out today. I don't think I have the same. Nope. Oh, I was gonna see if I could share that recipe with you, but I'm just working from the phone today, so it doesn't look like I have that option right now. Anyway, so today we are making a low carb dough pretzel. So this is just like a low carb dough in general. It can be used for multiple things. Bagels, pizzas. Today we're going to make pretzels out of them, but it can be used for a lot of different things. So let's get started on that. The first thing that we're going to need to make our low carb dough is actually mozzarella cheese. So I'm going to switch the camera to look at our fun stuff, and we'll measure out our mozzarella cheese and everything. So facing back. There we go. We got the cameras. Now, just need to bring it down to look at our area. There we go. We've got stuffs. All right. I had forgotten I didn't forget the mozzarella cheese. I just forgot to bring out the mozzarella cheese. So I have already measured out 2 cups of almond flour, and we have 1 tablespoon of baking powder. We're going to need 3 cups of mozzarella cheese, 2 ounces of cream cheese, and then in total we're going to need 3 eggs, but 2 of them are going to go directly in the dough. And then 1 tablespoon of salt, but I also have extra salt for topping things when before we put them in the oven. I also have silicone matte sheet tray, and we're actually going to work on this surface and put them on there to bake, because this is a melted cheese made into a dough, so it's fairly sticky and fairly lava-like, and we're going to need an oiled surface to work on, and I don't feel like wiping oil off of the counters, so that looks like a great work surface. All right, so this says in a large, in a large mixing bowl, add the almond flour and set aside. In a microwave-safe bowl, add shredded cheese with cream cheese. Microwave and work together. Okay, so this is supposed to be 2 cups of mozzarella cheese. So I'll go ahead and just dump this 2 cups in the bowl. And we'll see what that turns into. And it says 228 grams. I wonder, well, the packaging says 226 grams. I'll give us an extra 2 grams. How dare they? So 226, 113. I'm going to tear that out and we're going to do 113. Because I need 3 cups. And 52. Yeah, you guys can't see that. 85. Oh, 109. 116. I think that's close enough. Awesome. So it's 116 grams of cheddar cheese. And then I'm gonna change my scale to go over the ounces to weigh out the cream cheese. Now for this recipe, the cream cheese and the eggs are supposed to be room temperature. I brought them out to be room temperature on Tuesday, but we ran out of time to make this, and so I put them back in the refrigerator because I want to keep my food from spoiling. And then I forgot to take it out today. So, if you look on Butters and stuff, they have these fun lines. And this is 2 ounces, so I'm going to try that, but I'm also weighing it. So, try to see if that's 2 ounces. That's about 2 ounces. It's a little bit over 0.05. So I think that's fine. I think 0.05 is fine. And I am going to start off using this fork to mix this together. I'm not going to mix it right now. So at this point it says to microwave in 30-second bursts to incorporate it, mix it all together, melt it down. I figured out how to turn the sound off on my microwave, and that is my favorite thing ever right now. The fact that the microwave isn't yelling and screaming at me for every little thing. That's amazing. Because this microwave is so loud, and even on low, it is so loud. So, super happy that we figured out how to turn the sound off on the microwave. That we're moving in like 2 weeks, so we're just moving across town. But moving takes a while. And it is, I think all appliances are included in the new house too, so we're getting an even different microwave. We'll figure out how to use that one too. I'm usually pretty good at figuring these things out. I was taught how to figure things out, so that's a sensitive little word actually. All right, so this is very much still very cheese-like. Very shredded, I think even when it's melted, it's still going to be cheese and cheese-like. It's just mostly solid. With the fork, this feels like maybe like a stiff Play-Doh. That's what it feels like with the fork anyway. So let's do another 30 seconds. And while that is going, I am breaking the eggs into a bowl so I don't have to worry about doing that when we're doing this. And then the last egg is supposed to be beaten and like brushed over everything. So we will do that one when we get there, but the ones that is all coming together into a dough. Now, this dough does say, I'll put the recipe in the description later, but I thought I was going to be able to share the recipe during the live stream, and because I can on the computer, I just can't on my phone, and I'm just using the phone today. Having lighting and computer issues. So, yeah, this wants to be melted all the way into like this looking. Oh, I'm doing this right at the edge of the screen, of course. But like a lot of this still looks very like shredded. It doesn't look very like cohesive. You can tell that it's definitely multiple pieces still, but it kind of looks like a dough. It looks like a dough that needs a little bit more mixing, but so this just needs a little bit more time in the microwave. I'm going to do another 30 seconds. So in there we have our mozzarella cheese and cream cheese, and that is heating up. Almond flour, baking powder, shredded cheese, cream cheese melts until whisked together, which I'm doing with a fork. I wouldn't necessarily use like a whisk to do this kind of mixture. I could see this getting caught up in the whisk very, very easily. And that's not my idea of fun, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay, I don't think that the actual recipe is supposed to have salt in it because it says to sprinkle with the salt. Okay, good to know. This even looks like it's kind of puffing up like a dough would. The way it's melting, it's just looking puffy. But this is also, it's starting to look like a mozzarella ball, like a fresh ball of cheese. So I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so the recipe says to put this all in a food processor and blend it up. I have a blender. I don't have a food processor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly add things and see how and like mix it in the best I can. Because what this says, she says melted, whisked together, which I'm mixing it together, which it's pretty mixed together. This really looks like dough. I'm really loving how much this looks like dough. It's a lot of fun. All right, this is transfer cheese mixture into a food processor, add the dry ingredients, add and 2 of the eggs, and pulse until combined and a thick dough remains. So, you know what? Let's just do this the hard way. I was going to try to make this easy on myself by, well, either way, this is my first step. Baking powder into almond flour, stir, stir, stir. All the almond flour is kind of damp. When I was measuring it earlier, I was like pinching some of it out, and like you pinch it and it like sticks together. So I'm not sure if that's what almond flour is supposed to do, but that's what mine's doing. So anyway, it's kind of damp, and so I want to kind of see about breaking it down some because there's some clumps in here. And also I want the baking powder had some clumps as well. This is baking powder, right? I've checked this like 5 times, but that's baking powder. Yes, it is supposed to be baking powder. I did put in baking powder. Okay, we have the correct. I get so mixed up with baking powder and baking soda, and I know what they are and why they are, but I get confused at which one I'm supposed to be using. So, like, wait a minute, was that the right one or wrong one? Okay, so let's think about this. Because what I was going to do is I was going to baking powder in here and then slowly mix, add, mix, add, mix, add, mix. That was the original plan, but now I'm thinking I just kind of want to dump it all in the bowl together. But I'm also wondering if I go ahead and mix the eggs into the flour baking powder mix, if I do that, will it combine better with the cheese? I do think this might need to be like reheated in the microwave for a few seconds. It's fairly warm, but like it's not too hot. I'm touching it okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna add the eggs to here and then mix this together. I'm hoping that this won't be too hard to mix together. We'll see. Hopes and wishes and fishes. I don't know. So, and then, so for the most part, this is more of a ketogenic recipe. It's a higher in fat, low carb kind of recipe. And for the most part, these recipes usually have a lot of like cheese and alternative flours. There we go. I kept bleh, almond flour kept coming to mind, and I'm like, that's one of them, but it's not like the thing I'm talking about. And so these usually do pretty good. So this right now is just called a fathead dough. This is a higher in low carb, higher fat, and you can use this for lots of different things. You could use this for pizza. You could make like homemade bagels. I think people even use it for bread. We'll see how it turns out to see if I would like to use this as bread. I haven't tried making this dough before, but I have made similar doughs before. So we'll see. And right now I am just trying to watch how much bread I eat and not eat so much bread. So that's part of the reason why I'm trying this out to see if this is even like a tasty option. Like I don't imagine that it's gonna taste the same because like one of the things that I like about pretzels is that they're really yeasty. And I could potentially add some yeast to this just to get like that yeast flavor. But I don't know if that would actually work out like the way I would like it to. So I'm going to go by the recipe this time. I have a tendency to not go by the recipe, and it can really mess things up for me. So, especially since I get the basic idea of how this works, but I just want to make sure that it will work the way it's supposed to. So I'm just going to do this the way it's supposed to. And then from there, see about making changes and additions. Because the recipe says you can add stuff like jalapenos, bacon, you can put it in lots of different things. But I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven on to 400 while I'm finishing mixing this. I do think this is still going to need some time to finish coming together, especially since it's supposed to go through a food processor, and I am just doing this 100% by hand. Like, not even like with a spoon by hand, which is, I have a spoon here for doing this. I have a spoon so I can do this, and I'm like, you know what, let's just dig my hand into it. That seems like the best idea. I'll just dig hands in. Which, I'm always on here about how I hate goopy things, and then I'm like, here, let me just put my hand in it. So weird. Some days, well, I think if I know that it's gonna stay goopy, and that like the end result is goopy, then that's a different mindset altogether. But then when it's supposed to be dry and I'm trying to like have it be a certain texture. So if it's gonna change textures, if it's gonna stay the same, sure. This actually reminds me a lot of almond paste, marzipan. There we go. Just like texture wise, because well, that makes sense because this is almond flour, but marzipan overall, looking at it, it's got that granular texture to it, and this looks like it has that texture. I don't know if y'all can see that as much, but it looks fairly grainy. So, oh goodness. I don't remember how many pretzels this is supposed to make. I think this is only supposed to make like 6 pretzels. And I know it's supposed to make less than the other one. And I think the other one made 12, so I think it made half. But that looks fairly, like, I think I mixed that together pretty good. There's like a spot of cheese there. And it does say you don't want any melted, or, not melted. You don't want any unmelted cheese bits. And I don't know if that means like completely unmelted or if it means like right now I'm running into little bits of cheese that aren't fully mixed in. And so I'm like, does it mean that it doesn't want any cheese fully mixed? It needs all the cheese fully mixed in, or it needs to make sure all the cheese was melted? Because I made sure all the cheese was melted. But it makes that note after the blender step. So I'm just not sure which way it's supposed to go. But I think I got the cheese mostly mixed in. I think I can see a couple of spots here and there, but it's not that bad. Oh, so what was I saying? This is kind of like pâte à choux meets marzipan. That's kind of what I imagine it as. Maybe if I add another egg, it'll be all nice and ribbony. All right. I'm gonna wash my hands. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's see if we can scrape some of this off with a fork real quick. I don't like wasting. Anyway. Yep. So yeah, it really reminds me of like pâte à choux meets marzipan. And it's supposed to make 6 pretzels. So, but I'm not wanting it to be stuck all over my hand like this. So I'm hoping that if I wash my hands, I will get like I'll get the dough off of my hand, and then it will be easier to have it stick to itself rather than stick to me, since I will then be different. But the recipe does say to oil your hand for taking this out of here. So that is definitely a cold. Let's see. Yeah, over here. Let's just see what happens if we coming loose. Maybe, maybe not. So I just put a little bit of olive oil in my hand, and I'm just gonna wash my hands in olive oil, which I've heard olive oil is really good for your skin anyway, so I don't know, skin stuff, use olive oil, and then play with pâte à choux dough, or fathead dough, that's what it is, fathead dough. Look at me. I don't know if the olive oil is working. Maybe it's the wrong oil. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. maybe I'm just digging my fingers into it too much and it's like pushing the oil aside. All of these are options. Options in real life. Okay, so we have our fathead dough. We'll see about kneading it into some kind of more divisible shape. Ooh, this looks like a cool dough. I don't know. And it really has like some dough-like qualities to it. So this is really nice. I actually really like the feel of this dough. It feels very much it feels like a really dense dough. Really dense dough. Like I don't expect this to lighten up at all. This just feels really dense. So let me get something to cut this with, and we will shape it, cut it down and shape it into a little bit. Yeah, looks like time for this too, but that I'm liking. Oh, this is a good feeling dough. I should have had my dough scraper with me, but I wasn't expecting to use the dough scraper. Okay, that looks like about half to me. So I'm gonna just chop it in half. And then each of these I'm gonna kind of roll into like another loaf log kind of shape because it's gonna be easier to chop in 3 from here. Just blunt the ends a little just so that we can get these a little bit more even. And so, boom, boom. That looks about a third. Maybe let's do this one on this side a little bit. So that, and that, and that. Yep, those feel pretty good. Alright, so let's move you guys over here. And we'll turn this dough into a little log and get it all nice and rounded so we can chop this one into 3 like that. Let's see. And some general guides. So those kind of, those look pretty good to me. So we'll just go with them. I think on both of them I made the middles a little too big, but that's alright. Because from here, I have no working space. Okay, we can do this. I'm good at working in small spaces. Okay. So from here, we roll this into a log, and it's supposed to be our little pretzel log. See, this works like a really good. This feels like a fresh Play-Doh, where it's still really like doughy and sticky. Yeah, this is a very Play-Doh-like structure, texture, structure, potato. Right. At this rate, this is going to take forever. This feels really cool. This feels like I'm doing it. I don't think it can work on here. I think I'm going to need this to be a little bit longer. I don't like that. Fine, we'll do it anyway. So it was like, I don't want as much. I don't that much mess. A little bit of cooking spray and just make it so hopefully the counter's not sticky. I want it to be like oily, but I don't want it to be sticky either. Okay, look at everything much longer than I'm expecting. Everything. The pretzels the other day, these pretzels today. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm explaining it, so when you explain things take longer. Or like the first time you try things, you're not really sure what you're doing, so those things take longer, and that's part of what I'm doing today is I'm trying something. But okay, so this looks pretty good. Oh, this looks like a ton of dough. Like, wow. I feel like this is a ton of dough. But I guess that's not terrible. That's actually a cute little pretzel there. On the far left. Okay, we can bring this to the right. Yeah, that's actually a really cute. Huh, huh. That's interesting. I feel like that was a dense amount of dough, and that it's a really cute pretzel. I did have to finagle it a little bit, but I think that has more to do with my pretzel twisting abilities and less to do with the okay, we're doing something. Okay, I don't know if that's long enough, too long. And I like to do a double twist, make it look pretty, and then see, is it just me or are these actually looking good? I think this looks fine. Is this actually going to work out nicely? I'm kind of flabbergasted. I was not expecting, yeah, I was not expecting this. I've seen it like, so I made like a garlic cheddar mug cake, not mug cake, mug bread, and it's kind of like a mug cake, just like use garlic and salt and pepper and onion powder and all of those kind of fun things in order to get like a garlic bread. But that used coconut flour, and that was more like a muffin batter, which I can understand because like a cake batter is wetter than this. So I've made that before, and I made a different white bread, but it didn't, it wasn't this, it didn't have this kind of texture at all. It was more like a cornbread. I wonder how this would do as a loaf. Oh, how, these pretzels are looking awesome. Seriously, it's, okay, I've never made padish, but if I ever do or ever did, this is the texture that I'm shoe, but I feel like it would have a similar texture to this, at least like at some part. I think that pat is supposed to be runnier than this, so when you add eggs or egg yolks, something like that, it gets it into more of a typeable texture than a rollable texture. But the fact that this is so pliable, like it makes sense because mozzarella cheese, but like I am just really impressed with this overall. Like this is awesome. And these pretzels are turning out huge. Now they're not going to puff up. I am 79% sure that they're not going to puff up at all. Like there's baking powder in here, so maybe they'll puff up a little bit, but I'm not expecting any kind of puffiness. But oh, smaller. But these look awesome. These are looking like pretzels. They have a similar texture to like a bread dough, like a kneaded out bread dough. It is a little dense for like that, so it would be more of like a brioche kind of dough that it feels kind of like, but awesome. All right, let's see if we can make it with smaller, thicker dough. Sure. Yeah, it's not as big as the other ones, obviously, but um, we're trying these in a couple different sizes to see what wasn't paying attention. Right? I am so excited that these look so good. I'm so excited. And this is our last one to roll out. So this is going to be awesome. Rolling, 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 rolling. All right. That's pretty cool. I like the sound. Okay, so yeah, so we have a couple of like more dense pretzels and a couple more um, skinny pretzels. Put the dense pretzels all together. These aren't sticking together like pretzels normally would, but it also makes sense because it's not um, so flour absorbs liquid and the flour kernels particles individually absorb liquid. Because this is a nut flour, it doesn't absorb anything. Because it's oil. Oil doesn't absorb. Well, I guess it could probably absorb more oil, but it's not going to absorb any liquids, any waters. So it's not going to puff up at all. These are so interesting. But we put baking powder in here, so maybe the baking powder will do something? I don't know. Light and fluffy. Okay, so this was just that same fork I've been using this whole time. And I'm just gonna get a little pastry brush and brush down all of the egg. See, this is why we needed 3 eggs. We needed 1 for washing and 2 for in the recipe. But see, that's another thing is there's egg in the recipe. So will that what will that do? I am so curious about these. So curious. Oh my goodness. It's a good thing we're making them then, isn't it? And if this is a good dough, like I might start making a little bread loaf so that I can have this kind of bread. Because right now what I'm doing is I am trying to eat more low carb, so I'm trying to cut out some bread and sugars and stuff like that. I am playing around with some different health benefits and seeing if changing how I eat will change how my health goes in some ways. And so we're trying it. I know back in I think 2017 or something like that, I had started eating in a ketogenic way and I lost like 50, 60 pounds, something like that. And then I went way too restrictive and had to stop doing that so that I wasn't affecting my mental health. And so, but if you stop eating like in a diet kind of way, if like I it went down to like 1100 calories. I am not a small person. I am a fairly large person. I am like close to 6 feet tall, and I'm not um one of those like tall sticks either. Like if I was a man, I could probably be like a linebacker or a quarterback or something like that. Like I could play football with my build. But I guess as a woman I could play football too. I'm just talking like professionally in front of people. Like if I want to go play football for fun, that's available. I understand that. It's just I could be a fairly formidable force. I actually was in roller derby. That was one of the things is people could like move me around, but they couldn't knock me over. I was a wall. Now, if I could just get my feet a little bit better underneath me, I could actually be a wall because I'm tough. But I have to find a roller derby team. Miss it. I actually just put my skates in storage yesterday because we're moving and I'm not using the skate right now. So I figured they can sit in storage and not take up space from where we're trying to pack stuff. And we're not even really trying to pack stuff yet. I think that for the most part, because we're just moving across town, you can put a bunch of stuff in cars and then like take it out of the closet here, hang it up in the closet there. Done, unpacked and everything. Packed, you don't have to unpack. And then a lot of what we use for storage around here are those like cloth cubes. We're picking up our Roombas. Yeah, right. I mean, I'm really good at that too. So yeah, we have a lot of things stored away in those cloth cubes. So it's just a matter of like stacking those and taking them. So we're not really packing right now. All right, so we sprinkled salt all over it, and now the recipe says to bake at 400 degrees for about 12 minutes. So it also says to keep an eye on them because they'll burn easily, which I could definitely see. So let's go. We're going to not die by the fire blast coming out of the oven. Can you guys see that? There we go. Pretzels in the oven. Now we're just gonna set a timer for 10 minutes. Oh, it helps if I actually show you what I'm doing. 10 minutes, timer. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's also here. Look at the wall for a second. We're gonna move things around. Camera. Front facing. There we go. Now I can see you guys. We just gotta. There we go. Dad, you think this is really funny? When I was setting up my tripod, some of the legs are on a cutting board and some of them aren't. But I was trying to get the this way level to get more flat, but it wouldn't. And then I was like, oh, the tripod's not level, so it won't do that. So I leveled up the tripod. It works. Yeah. So I just 10 minutes while that's cooking. And I'm really surprised by the lack of dishes that this made because I was just thinking there'd be a lot more. I used 2 bowls, and if you're gonna do it by hand like I did, then you could probably just do it in 1 bowl, minus the egg bowl if you're gonna do eggs like that I did. But if you melt the cheese and then add the dry ingredients on top, mix it together, then cool. Otherwise, you'd have to dirty the blender, mixer, fire hydrant. Nope, not that one. Food processor, that one. It's like a blender and a mixer mixed together. So yeah, you might have to clean that if you're gonna use it. But I did it by hand pretty good. and it worked out pretty well. I don't think you could see it as clearly over the camera. I did see a couple of little white spots. Um, they weren't the baking powder. Those are even differenter looking. But there were some white spots, but I think that mixed in pretty well, especially rolling everything out. So your noses are pretty easy dough. I'm really excited to see how they turn out. We still have a few minutes, but I find most of these low carb recipes, especially the ketogenic ones, they don't use a lot of ingredients. If I wanted to season these, I could probably mix in some like garlic powder, onion powder. Doing, I think it would be fun. So this is a mozzarella cheese base. Make the base dough and then mix in like shredded cheddar and then like diced jalapenos. So it would melt, but I wonder if it would make a different texture versus the mozzarella. Because one, melted cheddar versus melted mozzarella do have different textures, but the melted mozzarella is mixed in with almond flour. So I'm hoping that that will actually make more bread-like texture. And then if we do the cheddar cheese, then that would be like melted cheese. So I wonder if I could do that as like a bagel and then have like a jalapeno cheddar bagel. I'm on to something, I think. I hope. But yeah, I've never made this fathead dough before. I'm really excited to see how it turns out. Mixing it, it seemed to turn out fine, but I don't know how it's gonna bake up. I just don't know. I've never done it before. I've made a chicken crust pizza. Chicken. Made chicken crust pizza. It's not exactly a dough. It uses similar concepts, but what you do is you take canned chicken, and you spread it out flat, and you put it in a low oven to dry it out. Most recipes say for like 20 minutes, but I usually do mine for like an hour because I actually want the things dried out. And then you blend it together with eggs and mozzarella cheese, and it forms something like a dough. It's not as doughy as this, it's more textured. But then you can lay it out flat and it creates pizza crust. You bake it to get the pizza crust cooked, and then you put the pizza toppings on it, and it's actually really good. I like to make it as a like some kind of chicken pizza. So I like chicken, pineapple, and jalapeno. So what I would do is I would make the chicken crust, put on the sauce, and then do like a little bit of cheese topping with the jalapeno and pineapple. And so I would have the chicken, jalapeno, and pineapple pizza, but the chicken crust. So I'm wondering if I just wanted like a pizza, if this would make a good base. Because I've actually, before I even was like, you know what, I don't think I want to eat carbs right now. I just decided that one day. I don't even remember what day. It was just like, you know what, I haven't eaten today, and I want to try eating like low carb again. Okay, I'm just not gonna. That's that's how that went. And so it's just been like meat and veggies since then, which I'm good with that. But oh, and yogurt with stuff in it. Because yogurt with stuff in it is good. We got 3.5 minutes on the timer. Let's check in on the, what is this? Oh, dough. This camera, we're going to switch this around, face the back. See, they're actually looking really nice, and I can't tell if the fat ones, the ones that I didn't roll out as much, are actually any different size than the ones that I rolled out a ton. Well, I didn't roll them out a ton, I just rolled them out a bit more. But they definitely look like they're kind of melting into themselves. So where I was concerned about pieces sticking up and stuff like that, looks like those are kind of melting down and becoming like more blended in with the stuff. So the fact that it doesn't have the liquid to absorb things and like absorb back into itself doesn't look like it's a problem once we get to the baking part. So cool, cool. All right, that is definitely exciting. So we got this all figured out, at least. Well, not figured out, but it's going, it's doing stuff, it's baking. You know, we can't see exactly how brown it is through the oven screen. Yeah. Now, I don't have the cleanest oven door in the world, but it's not like filthy either. Let's have those dots on it. I'm not sure. I think those are to reflect the heat back into the oven so that it doesn't lose as much heat out the front there, but you can still see in. But it makes it so that the camera can't see in as well. I think even if I had it completely clean, it would still be hard to see through. Is there an oven door that doesn't have the dots on it that you could like film through? I just imagine that would let a lot of heat out. The thermodynamics tells me that glass absorbs heat and like dissipates it, and that metal like absorbs it and bounces it back. So, but they're looking very. So I'm really wondering when, like, can I add yeast to it? We can add onion powder and garlic powder and paprika and all of those kind of seasonings. So I'm wondering if I could add yeast to it. If I can add yeast to it, is it a good idea? And if it is a good idea, when should I add it? Because the I can add it in with the flour, and then it'll just be like dry, and then I'm hoping it just gives the yeasty flavor to it, because that's one of the best parts about eating yeast bread is that you get that yeasty aroma and a little bit of yeasty flavor. So this isn't gonna happen. Or because yeast likes to be activated in warm liquid. If I add it to the eggs, would that help activate it? And so maybe I could like scramble the eggs. The eggs are supposed to be room temperature anyway. So if I scramble the eggs a bit, add yeast to them, would that activate the yeast? And do I even need to activate the yeast? Welcome to my head. But so I think I'm gonna have to try it in multiple ways. We'll have to try it with putting it in the eggs and then putting it in the flour. I don't think putting it in the cheese is a good idea because you're microwaving the cheese, and yeast doesn't like hot environments, it likes warm environments. So I think maybe once it's melted, we could put it in there, but there's a lot of fat in there and there's no water for it to dissolve into. I don't know if yeast can dissolve in oil. So I'm thinking eggs. But I think it would be the water from the eggs that would activate it in if I just put it in with the flour. Things to think about. Oh, it's done. Well, the timer's done. Ooh, okay, these do need a couple more minutes, but because I was just looking in there and they are white. They're still white. Camera settings. We're gonna flip this back around. Back facing. There we go. Yep, that is facing the back. Okay. Because if you'll look at these, I'm gonna turn the pan around so that it can fully bake. But we can see there's like a little bit of browning. You see that? See the browning? Anyway, there's a little bit of browning on some of the edges and some of the, like right here, I can see a little bit of browning. I can't see it on the camera just yet, but it's lightly, lightly brown. So these do want another minute or two. So I'm actually going to use this timer and we're going to do 2 minutes. Okay. Let's keep an eye on it the best we can from here because, yeah. One, the recipe says to keep an eye on them because you don't want them to get, like they'll brown up fast and we don't want them to get too brown. It's funny, I just noticed that these two were sticking together right here. So I wonder how easily or hard those will come apart. Ooh, these two are touching over here too. I don't know how it's gonna go. I know that typically with the regular pretzels, part of the reason you do the boiling process is to give them a skin. And that skin, like if they were going to be touching, would keep it from like sticking together like that, at least after a little bit. Like if it rises together like that, then it's not going to stay together very well. But I don't know. I'm just figuring it out. I think that the oven just told me we have like 1 minute left. So not that there was a ton of time to begin with, so. All right. I'll probably have to turn the timer off because we're gonna just keep an eye on these until they're like a nice golden brown. We don't want them to be too dark, but I also don't want them super light. You know, like a pretzel in the store. Oh, that deep brown. I want deep brown, not burnt. Love oven lights. It does change how we see it a little bit, but not a ton. Oh, there's the timer. And everything looks light brown from what I can see so far. Okay, let's take a peek in here. Yep, we're getting lightly brown. Still needs a little bit more time. I would guess another minute, maybe 2, but we are going to keep an eye on it because it is browning up quickly, which it's cheese. Cheese browns up pretty quick. I can personally see it on this front one here in the middle. This one is looking fairly brown. Now, it's definitely not looking brown enough yet, but it's getting there. But yeah, these are supposed to brown quickly. We're getting there. I'm so excited for these. I do think I like just from the way I can see them in here, I think I like the way that the thinner pretzels look. So like over here, the ones that were more fat when I put them on the pan, and then the ones over here were thinner, like they were rolled out thinner. The other ones were kind of thick and then they were kind of bunched together. But the ones I rolled out thinner are looking more like an Aunt Annie's pretzel. While these are, I'm sure they're delicious, but they just look like they're blending together a lot more. Like they don't have enough space between the pieces. and that it's just all like one big thing. All right, we're gonna take a look at these and we're gonna turn the pan one last time just because I said I can see the browning. That's a lot better. Like you can see the browning, but like these over here aren't browning as much. And so I want to see if rotating the pan again changes any of that. I'm not sure where's a hot spot or cold spot in this oven. So yep, we're still keeping an eye on it, but we're gonna go just for like another minute or two, not very long at all. And I am saying that seeing that it looks darker through the window than it did on the pan itself. Like once I opened the door and actually took a look at them inside, they looked a lot lighter than they were looking through the door. So there is that as well. We still don't want them to burn. Burn, baby, burn, burn. No, no burning. But they're looking nice. I'm so excited for them to be done. They're so close. So close. And I wonder how much the egg wash really affects this. Sometimes egg wash doesn't affect things that much, and sometimes it does. Maybe it's why it's getting all brown on top. But yeah, I'm not really seeing it rise, and I don't know if that's the kind of dough it is, or I'm pretty sure my baking powder's still good because I think we've used it recently and it worked out just fine. But so I don't think it's like my ingredients aren't working kind of thing. Like my yeast wasn't working the other day. Ugh, back for Easter, I was trying to make hot cross buns and my yeast never activated. It took forever to activate. I think it might have gotten left out overnight or something. And so I tried mixing it with water and sugar, and it was 30 minutes before it started making any bubbles, which it starts making them eventually. So I could just make sure that anytime I want to make something with yeast, I start it 45 minutes early. I could do that, but I don't know how feasible that is. So this back corner one is actually looking really ready right now. But this front corner one is still looking really doughy. Now, this is one of the fatter ones, and that is one of the thinner ones. So, hmm, but like these two on this side look done. This back one in the middle looks done. This one up front looks like it's mostly done. This one in the back over here looks mostly done, and then this one looks like it still needs a minute or two. All right, let's pull these out and check on them because, like I said, woo, I just got a face full of steam. Okay, they're looking fairly good actually. Um, see, even looking through the camera, it's not as good as looking at them. Because the light spots look a lot lighter on the camera and the dark spots look a lot darker. But they don't look terrible. I think that I might want to give them like a couple of extra minutes. The bottom looks nice. Okay, we're just gonna leave them like this and let them cool. They still feel like fairly textured. They look great. They look really pretzel-like. Like they look like pretzels. They don't just look like cheese shaped into pretzels, which is what I was afraid it would be. It's cheese shaped as pretzels, and then you're just eating cheese. But I'm hoping that these have a nice flavor to them. They definitely need to dough before I can really do anything with them. But we got them made. Let's turn this around. Ow, like that. It's looking weird. I know, I'm sorry. You guys keep looking at the walls and the counters and everything else. But there we go. All the way. Flip down. There we go. Whew, there we go. All right. So yes, we cook the pretzels. They're looking really good. They're gonna need to cool for a while before I can try them. It was just anyway, before we can try them, they need to cool for a little bit. So I'm gonna give them a little while to cool, and I'm gonna try those later. Turn the oven off. But yeah, so that was making fathead dough and making it as pretzels. I will definitely let you know what I think about this dough because one, I'm incredibly curious, and two, these look really good. So if these look really good, then I am sure that a loaf of bread or pizza dough or something like that would be amazing. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're doing next week yet, but stay tuned and we'll be back on Tuesday making something. I'm just not sure what we're going to make just yet. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all that kind of fun stuff if you'd like to see more baking content, live stream baking content. Thanks for being with me here today, and I'll see you on Tuesday.